Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवारि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल Hayagriv Das. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord instructing Arjuna said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and Yogam means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to the Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yogam. In other words, Buddhi Yogam is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna consciousness. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master is important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed and the ultimate goal reached. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows that the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and he may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of service. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is intelligent enough, he will make progress on the path of self realization. If one is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Srila Prabhupada. So, this is the process in summary. Hagriv Das. Scotus argued for the existence of God on the basis of primary cause, but he felt that the proposition God exists is not of much use unless we understand what God is and know something of his nature. Srila Prabhupada. God is the Supreme Father, and he has created everything within our experience. So Srila Prabhupada. So this is the process in summary. Then Kayagriva says, Scotus argued for the existence of God on the basis of primary cause, but he felt that the proposition God exists is not of much use unless we understand what God is. Yes. God is the Supreme Father, and He has created everything within our experience. When we are convinced that there is certainly a Creator, we can make further progress to understand the nature of that Creator. Is he animate or inanimate? Is he matter or a living being? Further analysis takes up from this point. But first we must understand that God is the creator. That is very well explained in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva yoni sukaunteya. Murtaya sambhavantiya. Tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradah pita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Everything is coming from the womb, yoni, of material nature. If the earth or material nature is the mother, there must be a father. Of course, atheists think that a mother can give birth without a father, but that thinking is most unnatural. One next asks, who is my father? What is his position? How does he talk? How does he live? First, we must understand that there is a creator father. Then we can understand his nature. This understanding must be beyond a doubt. Asamshayam, Agrivdas. Scotus was also opposed to Aquinas in his belief that the human soul can be separated from the body, and when it is separated, it is not changed at all. When the soul is united with the body, it activates the body, but the soul itself is beyond corruption. The individual soul is incapable of destroying itself or giving itself being. Prabhupada. The individual soul is always separate from the body. That is the Vedic injunction. Asango hyayam purusha iti. Brihad Aranyak Upanishad 4:3:16. If the body actually mixed with the soul, how could soul give up one body and accept another? The soul is always aloof from the body, from its material formation. The living being, the living entity, the jiva soul is always asanga, incorruptible. Next chapter, Renaissance thought. Niccolo Machiavelli, 1469 to 1527. So 58 years old. Agrivdas. Machiavelli has been called the most influential political philosopher of the Renaissance, and his philosophy of politics has influenced rulers down to modern times. He is typical of the Renaissance in that he turned from the subject of the church fathers such as God, heaven, and salvation to concentrate on man and nature. The Renaissance marked a decline in the church power, and philosophy began a process of secularization. Machiavelli himself admitted that his most famous work, The Prince, does not apply to a utopian state composed of good citizens. Rather, it is an unscrupulous philosophy that applies to corrupt citizens. The Prince is a guidebook for a tyrant, and it contains the advice he chose to impart to the ruling Medici family. It is a justification for immoral actions. Power is the ultimate goal, and in the quest for power, the end justifies the means. Success in attaining power makes one the object of obedience and respect. Failure is the only sin. Shri Prabhupada. So this is politics, the occupation of kshatriyas. In Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of a kshatriya are given. Shauryam tejo dhritir daksham yutte chapi apalyanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma svabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Bhagavad Gita 1843. Of course, in modern politics, the king or president does not come onto the battlefield to exhibit his courage. He simply appears when there is a battle of words, but when there is an actual battle, he remains in a secluded place and lets the citizens fight. And he institutes a draft board to assure that they will come. According to the Vedic system, however, when there is a fight, the king or president must be present on the battlefield and should lead the fight himself so that these men will be encouraged. This is called Yuddhachapyapalyanam. The leader of a nation should fight with all his ability and be determined either to gain victory in the battle or lay down his life. Bhagavad Gita itself is a guidebook for Kshatriyas and was originally spoken to the sun god millions of years ago. Sometimes people try to interpret Bhagavad Gita as a philosophy of non-violence, but in politics there must be violence, because the king must emerge victorious. It is stated in the Vedas that if the king is victorious, he will be respected. Strength must be there. Apart from this, the chief of state must be also charitable, and formerly all the great kings performed big yagnas, sacrifices. Annad bhavanti bhutani prajanyad anna sambhava yagnad bhavati parjanyo yagna karma samudbhava. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagna, sacrifice, and yagna is born of prescribed duties. Bhagavad Gita 3:14. When sufficient sacrifices are performed by the royal head of government, rainfall results. Power in itself is not sufficient. One must be powerful enough to fully satisfy the citizens by supplying them sufficient grains so that men and animals can eat and be satisfied. That is the ability that the politicians or prince should have. He should be not only powerful but charitable as well. Taxes exacted from the citizens should be properly utilized in performing sacrifices. Of course, it is not possible to perform yagnas today as previously. Formerly, they used to sacrifice tons of ghee and grain in the fire, but today that is impractical. The best yagna for today is Sankirtan yagna, propagated by this Krishna consciousness movement. The heads of the state should encourage this. Hare Krishna, Mari Prabhu Tandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jibol. I agree with us. Machiavelli felt that the prince must at least exhibit 5 basic virtues, whether he has them or not. These are mercy, faith, integrity, humanity, and religion. He writes, it is not necessary for a prince to have all the above mentioned qualities, but it is very necessary to seem to have them. I would even be so bold as to say that to possess them and always to practice them is dangerous, but to appear to possess them is useful. Thus it is well to seem merciful, faithful, human, sincere, religious, and also to be so. But you must have your mind so disposed that when it is needful to be otherwise, you can change to the opposite qualities. Prabhupada. Well, Machiavelli may think like that, but unless a prince or king possesses all these qualities, he is unworthy. If he is unworthy, he cannot remain a prince because he is situated artificially. Because the kings lacked the proper qualities, monarchy is finished today, and democracy has become prominent. In Indian history, however, there were kings like Maharaj Parikshit, who actually possessed all good qualities. When Parikshit Maharaj went to a tour of his kingdom and saw a black man attempting to kill a cow, the Maharaj immediately drew his sword and said, "Who is this person trying to kill a cow in my kingdom? He must be punished." A king must exhibit such determination to give protection to all the inhabitants of his kingdom. At the present moment, governments are not offering protection for animals. They are killing cows, although cows are supplying milk, from which we can make wonderful preparations. This is Kali Yuga, and the government does not exhibit good sense in any field. Since the government is unworthy of governing, there is chaos throughout the world. According to Vedic civilization, the king is worshipped as god in human form and is therefore called Naradeva. If the good qualities are lacking in a king, he can no longer be considered Naradeva, and he cannot rule for very long, because his rule is artificial. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, the royal order is finished. Hagriv Das. Machiavelli didn't say that this is the way political life ought to be. Rather, since this is the way political life is at present, this is the best way a prince can rule. Srila Prabhupada, our principles should be the same whether in the past, present, or future. Krishna delivered Bhagavad Gita millions of years ago to the king of sun, Vivashvan. 5,000 years ago, also, he repeated the same principle to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It is not that the principles have changed. Whether one is a prince, president, or whatever, the ruling principles should be maintained. Then the people will benefit. It is said that when Maharaj Yudhishthira ruled, the people suffered neither from intense heat nor intense cold. There was regular rainfall, and people were free from all anxiety. Such is an ideal kingdom in which the people are happy in all respects. Hagriv Das. Machiavelli taught that the ruler should take the sins of the state upon himself, just as Christ took upon himself the sins of the world. Srila Prabhupada. But if the ruler himself is sinful, how can he assume the sins of others? Hagriv Das. Well, Machiavelli felt that evil in politics was a necessity. He writes, a man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good. Srila Prabhupada. But if one is not good himself, how can he introduce anything that is good? Presently in India, there are many people claiming to be big Mahatmas, religionists, scholars, and politicians, but they cannot even protect the cows. Bhagavad Gita says, Krishi Kurakshya Vanijam Vaishyakarma Svabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, and business are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas. 1844 Bhagavad Gita. It is at least the duty of the state to protect the cow, which is the special animal. It is the king's duty to protect the welfare of all citizens, including the cows. If the king or president does no mere If the king or president does no more than sit in an exalted position, the people will not be happy. Even in America, the people dragged their president down when they were discontent with him. In any case, the head of state must be ideal and exhibit the ideal princely characteristics. Hagriv Das. Machiavelli suggested that since the people usually desire peace, the prince should promote peace in his public addresses. On the other hand, the army always prefers war, which gives opportunities for promotion, and the prince should also appease the militarists. Although publicly promoting peace, the prince can break his promise whenever necessary to start a war abroad, especially when there is trouble at home. Interesting. Srila Prabhupada. No, no one can introduce peace unless he is educated in God consciousness. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Bhuktaram yagna tapasam sarvalokamaheeshwaram shuhridam sarvabhutanam jnanatvamam santim rachati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifice and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Bhagavad Gita 5:29. The king should not think of his kingdom as his property or his father's property. Rather, knowing himself to be the representative of the Supreme Father, he must understand that the state belongs to the Supreme Father. He is a representative whose duty is to protect the state and the citizens. The proprietor of the state is God himself. There is not a spot of land throughout the universe that is not owned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, all property should be engaged for the satisfaction of God. Bhuktaram yagnatapasham. Everything must be carried out for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And this is ideal activity for all societies. अतः पुंभिर्द्विजश्रेष्ठा वर्णाश्रमविभागशः स्वनुष्ठितस्य धर्मस्य संसिद्धिर्हरितोषणम्. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the Lord Hari. Bhagavatam 1-2-13. According to the Shastras, there are social divisions, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and these divisions allow for proper management. It is the king's duty to divide human society according to the Varnashrama Dharma. There should be genuine Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Brahmacharis, Grihastas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis. No one should cheat, but should carry out his duty accordingly. The king must know what is sin so that he can take precautions against it. But if he supports sinful activities, for instance, if he maintains a slaughterhouse, how can he become sinless? If Shastra says that the king attains political power by pious activities, but if he does not give security to the citizens, he loses his power automatically. I agree with us. Machiavelli certainly believed that the people should be protected, but he also believed in the use of power and might. If there are internal difficulties, they must be put down by force. If this proves impossible, the prince should divert people's attention by starting a war abroad. He even felt that it was better to go war than to remain neutral, because neutral nation is hated by the losers and not respected by the winner. Consequently, he praised power and war. Srila Prabhupada, he praises war because he cannot manage internally. That is most inhuman. Hagriv trouble at home, war abroad is one of his most famous points. Srila Prabhupada, yes, and sometimes the governments create artificial restlessness and poverty. We have seen in 1940, when the Second World War was going on, the government created an artificial famine in order to get men to fight. People who didn't work hard had no alternative but to join the military. The government increased the price of food, and I remember the price of rice jumping from 6 rupees to 10 rupees. Then very next day the price rose to 20 rupees. Then it jumped again to 50 rupees, whereas formerly it was only 6. This is all the result of politics. When the government is not pious or strong, this will go on, and the people will be unhappy. I agree with that. Machiavelli's view of man was very cynical. He wrote, in constituting and legislating for a commonwealth, it must be taken for granted that all men are wicked. Srila Prabhupada, this is not philosophy, considering all men wicked. Hagrid does. Well, he considered that men are so created that they desire all things, although they cannot acquire them. Men are never satisfied. As soon as they have one thing, they crave another. Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, it's the duty for the government to introduce Krishna consciousness so that people can know the way of peace and happiness. Hagrid does. As long as the prince benefited the people, they would be entirely his. Prabhupada, but he must know how to benefit them. I agree with that. Machiavelli was very fond of speaking of the common good. He said love of country and the common good above the Christian love of God. Prabhupada, but what is his common good? He is thinking that people must have enough to eat, but it is for the common good for everyone to love God. Love of God is for everyone, and God is one. When we become lovers of God, our lives are perfected. I agree with that. But if people are basically wicked, he argued, a strong prince is necessary to control them. Hare Krishna Amri Prabhu Dandat Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada. There is, Prabhu, there is no sound. Yes, Prabhu, there is no sound. The mic is not connected. No, Prabhu. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora, Hari Bol.
Hello?
Hari Bol.
Good?
Yes, Prabhu. Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm Kate. Oh, let me.
Yes, Prabhu. Dandat Pranam Jai Shri.
Connection. Google connection. One minute.
You can read from this part.
Ah, okay, okay.
Hari Bol.
I got. Why should the people remain wicked? It is the king's duty to see that all citizens become gentlemen. He shall not allow them to remain. The educational, social, and religious systems should be so perfect that the people become God conscious. At least the sector of the people, the Brahmanas, will be perfect. I agree with that. But they have that if the prince were perfectly virtuous or truthful in all cases, he can't possibly survive in the political world. Shira Prabhupada. That is why there are social division, Brahmanas, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudras. It is not possible for everyone to be truthful, but at least a section of the people should be ideal so that other can take place. It is not that everyone is in the same position, nor that everyone should join the military. Only those who are interested in fighting should join the military. I agree with that. Machiavelli recommended compulsory military service as a primary form of education from everyone. Srila Prabhupada. Nothing is meant for everyone. There must be division. Machiavelli had no idea that Brahmanical training is absolutely necessary for intelligent men. I agree with that. Since youth should especially become a to hardships, he considered war as a form of hatred. Prabhupada. Well, any education requires hardships, and to become the Brahmana of Brahmacharya is the greatest hardships. In any case, there must be educational division, just as there are division in the in the human body: head, arms, belly, and legs. Military education is education of the arms, but where is education for the brain? Unless the head is education, how will the arms act? Yagrivadasa. Machiavelli recommended a democratic republic for a society consisting of virtuous people. In such a state, the ruler must obtain the people's consent. But he considered such a society purely utopian. Shira Prabhupada. Yes, a completely virtuous society is utopian in this age. It is not possible. The section of the population can be very virtuous, and the remainder may take lessons from them. It is not possible for everyone to become a Brahmana, but a few can be trained. The sky may be full of stars, but one moon is all that is necessary. If the populace consists of fools and rascals, how can anything be managed? There must be at least as that shines like the moon. Yagrivadasa. This cynical view of mankind was partially based on the Christian doctrine, or at least one the doctrine of Augustine, which held that man is by nature corrupt. Whereas Augustine believed in the saving grace of God, Machiavelli believed in man's willpower to overcome bad fortune. Shira Prabhupada. But whoa, I just got on bad fortune. If we consider good and bad fortune, we must consider a dispenser, a supreme power or controller, and that supreme power is God. Therefore, people should be educated in God consciousness by reading transcendental literatures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Mayagriva Machiavelli's attitude toward religion has greatly influenced modern governments. He considered religion to be a department of the state. It should not be separated in the senses that it should not compete. Prabhupada. In that he agreed, it is the government's duty to give protection to religion, and if that religion is scientific, the state will be sound. America is presently strong in many respects, and now America must become strong in the God consciousness. It is very good to write in the God we trust, but we must also know what God is and why we should trust in Him. We are therefore trying to introduce this sense of God consciousness. I agree with that. Machiavelli felt that as long as religion is not detrimental to the state may accept it does valid. But in one sense, religion is subordinate to the state. Srila Prabhupada. Of course, they are separated, but the state must know what religion is and how to introduce it to the general public. There is no question of blind faith. The government is maintaining many different departments: an engineering department, medical department, military department, and so forth. Similarly, on religions, department may be subordinate to the state become all other departments are subordinate, but religion must be based on scientific knowledge. If the state takes advantage of the scientific system of religion, then the people will be knowledgeable and happy. I agree with that. For Machiavelli, the only sin is not acting for the common good. First, the ruler must protect the citizens from physical harms. Citizens are happy when they obey the last follow custom and pray to God. Srila Prabhupada. If the ruler must first, first of all protect the citizens from physical harm, how can he advocate animal slaughter? Animal as a slow subject because they are born in the country. A citizen is anyone who is born in the States. So how can a ruler discriminate between one type of citizens and another? If a discriminate case, he cannot speak of common good. Common good. He can only say man's God, according to the common good cause, as well as men are protected. I agree with that. Machiavelli placed love of country and the common good above everything else. He hardly uses the word God or providence, but prefer the word fortune. It is fortune that plays tricks on men and changes friends into enemies. Shira Prabhupada. If God fortune is a misfortune, since God is the supreme controller and misfortune. When you act wrongly, punish God, and when you act properly, the reward comes from God. I agree with that. Love of country transcends everything religions and morals, so that one may even lose his own soul for this country's sake. Indeed, Machiavelli wrote, I love my country more than myself. Shira Prabhupada. But how long we remain is in his country? I agree with that. Well, he remained from uh, 1469 to 1527 in English, please.
1969, 1527. Haribol.
Haribol. Shira Prabhupada. So what is that? Time and the soul are eternal. Such deification of one's country is not very intelligent. Haribo.
Haribol. Okay, now let's go to his six Astakam prayers.
Yes.
Darpanamarjanam Bhavamaha Davagninirvapanam Shreyah Kairavachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Pudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritasvadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
Nam makaribahuda nija sarva shakti statra pita namita smarani makaraha idadri tava kripa pakavan mamati durdeva mirishami jani nuragaraha nuragaraha.
Tadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Nadanam najanam na sundarim kavitam vajagati chakamaye mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatad bhakti raitu ketvai.
Ainandatअनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवां पुतौ कृपा तव पादपङ्कजास्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया
Nayanam garada shrudaraya vadanam gadgada rudaya gira purakaini tam vapo kada tavanama granane bhavishyati.
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्शायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
Ashrishava padaratam pinashtumam matarchanan marmahatam karutova yadava vidadaturam pato matprana natastu sahivan paraha.
Ribor. Glory to the
Haribol.
Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
2. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render our benediction to living beings, and thus you have enjoyed on millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. They are not even hard and fast bullets for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Oh, oh, I make the Lord, I have no desire wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, no, I want any number of followers. I only want you conscious devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
8. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he unless my rugly by his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord and unconditionally.
Haribo, Sri Sikrastakam.
Haribol.
Okay, then the 10 offenses to the holy name. First offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Blasphemy too. To consider the name of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to and independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu.
3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures in response to the Vedic version.
5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
Article 6. To give some interpretation to the holy names of the Lord.
7th offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
Eighth offense, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the spiritual activities, karma kanda.
Ninth offense, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
10th offense, do not hide complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is a slow and offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devout who claim to be Vaishnava must guard against his offense in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem.
Haribo.
Jai.
Haribo.
Panchakarpa Tarubhya Chakrapa Sindhu Bhya
कृपा सिंधु
Nanam Pavan.
दानम पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। पंचतत्व की जय, नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय, श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय,
Jai.
गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल।
Hari Bo.
All glories to Shri Prabhupada.
Ki Jai.
Jai।